Hey, Good Success community, Josh Culler here, host of the Good Success podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. But before we get into this awesome episode of the Good Success podcast, we'd like to take a quick minute and thank our sponsors. And first is Sharper Business Solutions and our good friend Gary Harper. And listen, your business is a personal endeavor that you have poured your blood, sweat, and tears into. Sharper Business Solutions is a full-service solution to help you scale your dream. Sharper Business Solutions implements the Sharper process and other key systems, giving you the confidence and freedom to keep growing and scaling as a company. The Sharper team wants to come alongside you and provide the resources needed for long-term growth and success. Schedule your free consultation today at sharperprocess.com. And let me tell you, these guys are amazing. A lot of our mastermind members have hired Gary and the Sharper team to come and implement EOS and processes and systems into their business, and their scaling is very, very much apparent, and they've grown exponentially. So make sure you guys check them out one more time. That's sharperprocess.com. And we'd like to say a quick thank you to Veterans Path Up and our good friend Ken Lacey. And Veterans Path Up's mission is to provide affordable, stable housing to veterans and veteran families through the use of shared living, single-family residences, and ultimately a path to home ownership. Their emphasis is to provide housing for homeless, working, and disabled veterans, many of whom do not qualify for long-term support from any government agency. Veterans Path Up ascribes to the philosophy of helping those with a hand up as opposed to a hand out. Veterans Path Up provides a critical link to the veteran by bridging the gap to other supportive veteran services. This is accomplished through education and awareness to available support, with the ultimate goal of getting the veteran and family on a path to self-sufficiency. Through the use of private and philanthropic funding, Veterans Path Up acquires, rehabs, and places veterans into the appropriate housing for where they are with respect to their current financial picture. Improving neighborhood housing and showing veterans a path up strengthens the community and strengthens the country while helping those who have protected our freedom. You can visit veteranspathup.org to make a donation or find out how you can help impact our veterans even further. So without further ado, let's take a quick sneak peek of what you'll hear on this episode of the Good Success podcast.
Oh, I think it's huge. I mean, it's becoming cliche now, but I mean, you are the 5 people that you hang around with the most, right? So your network and your surroundings are huge. I mean, you always, if you realize every group that you hang out with, or you end up kind of mirror matching those people. So if you want to become a successful real estate entrepreneur or a successful entrepreneur, you have to hang out with them. You have to find out, because you start doing what they do as far as their habits.
Welcome back to the Good Success podcast. I'm your host, Josh Culler, and today I've got a special guest on the show with me. This is Zach Beach out of Newport, Rhode Island. Zach, what is going on, my friend? How you doing?
I'm doing excellent, Josh. Thanks for having me on. Super excited to be here and see if I can bring some value to your audience.
Awesome. So this is actually the first time that me and Zach have met, but I have actually had Zach's father. It's your father-in-law, correct?
That is
Chris,
correct, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So Chris Prefontaine, if you guys remember out of episode 108 of the Good Success podcast, we had Chris Prefontaine on, and these guys are with Smart Real Estate Coach, and I believe, Zach, you're a coach with Smart Real Estate Coach, and personally I've done over 100 deals in under 3 years, which is awesome. That's absolutely amazing. And then you're also co-authoring, which a new book's going to be coming out. So maybe we'll ask you a little bit about that. Co-authoring the new rules of real estate investing that'll be coming out in 2019. Excited about that. Maybe we'll get a little bit of a sneak peek of what people can expect. But that'd be awesome. And then if you guys want to learn more about them, they've got a lot of great stuff. So much. I mean, I was scouring your guys' website, and our marketing director, Kevin, was too. And we're like, man, these guys have so much content out there. Just complete givers, tons of content that you guys can absorb. Obviously, they have their own products, but so much free content out there that you guys can get a hold of about just real estate investing in general, the markets, and all kinds of stuff. So we're going to come back around to Zach here in just a minute. But before we get into it, if you guys have not already, make sure you tap subscribe to the Good Success Podcast. We're on all the podcast platforms. Just go search Good Success and you will find us there. Make sure you leave a review on Apple Podcasts, or we would love to hear your guys' thoughts. I was actually going to say or iTunes, but it's actually not iTunes. It's just Apple Podcasts. But leave a 5-star review if you don't mind. We would love to hear your thoughts on these episodes. That would be amazing. And then the Community Go Giver event is going to be June 26, 27, 28. And we have a lot more details that are going to be coming out very soon, but we've had a couple of our speakers that have been on the podcast in the past couple of weeks. Adrian Shabbat, Josh Belk, Jim Ingersoll, and then we have, Adrian's a new speaker from last year. So last year was the July event, and Jim Ingersoll and Josh Belk were both there. But we have some new faces that are going to be at this event, and then some old faces, some faces that were at our inaugural event. So make sure you guys check that out. Early bird price tickets are going on right now. And of course, somebody from Quest is going to be there. So Zach, I believe Chris Prefontaine was actually pretty close friends with Quincy Long. So he had mentioned him. So Quincy's actually in our mastermind, and he came and spoke at our Community Go Giver event last year. So he may not be coming back, but we will definitely have somebody from Quest that will be there. So that's exciting. The Good Success Mastermind is coming up. Actually, I didn't leave you guys a website for the Community Go Giver at communitygogiver.com. I'm all over the place right now, but it feels a little warm in here. Is it warm in here, Emily? It's pretty warm. So you guys just have to bear with me. But communitygogiver.com is where you can pick up those early bird price tickets for the Community Go Giver event and learn more about that. Again, full details are coming out very, very soon. So be on the lookout for it. And then the Good Success Mastermind, which I just mentioned, Quincy is a part of our mastermind. The next event is February 4 through 8. And speaking of Quincy, Quest Trust Company is going to be hosting us at their office down there in Dallas. And it's going to be an awesome event. Very excited. We got 2 groups that are going to be in there. So group 1's going to be Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday. And then group 2 is going to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And both groups are going to be together on that Wednesday in the middle day. We're going to be having a couple panels, keynotes, and the Good Success Awards are going to be handed out. And just a lot of fun networking going on and activity later on in the day. So if you guys want to learn more about the mastermind, go to goodsuccess.com/mastermind to learn more. Fill out the application there, and then you'll chat with either myself or Tom Olson, president of Good Success, and that will do it. So goodsuccess.com/mastermind. All right, Zach, let's get into this podcast interview. I'm excited to have you on. Just reading your bio got me amped to ask you these questions that I've got here listed, and you guys are in for a really good one. Zach, so just do us a favor, introduce yourself for the people who don't know who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing that.
Sure, Josh. I thought that we spoke fast up here in New England, but you are definitely killing it. You could definitely
Chicagoland area.
Oh yeah, we speak the same speed, so yeah. Happy to hear it. Yeah, so I'm Zach Beach, located in Rhode Island, originally from Central Mass. I can give you just a quick snip. When I graduated from college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. All I knew is I didn't want to get into the corporate world. So what I decided to do, which what everyone would decide to do, is become a bartender. So I started bartending for about 4 years, and I figured I wanted to make some additional income as well. So I started personal training. So it only made sense. I would serve the people at night, and then I would make sure that they trained in the morning and ate well all day long so that they can go back out drinking again.
So you serve them the bar food and the alcohol, and then you got to go train them. So you're double dipping, man.
That was the point. I was trying to learn young, double dip. But that obviously became dull after a while. I became exhausted. I was running and burning the candle at both ends. So right around the age of 24, I went to my father-in-law, who just kind of started this business a couple of years back, buying and selling on terms, and we can go into that. And I said, hey, I'm looking to get out of the industry. I'm not sure exactly what I want to do right now, so I'd be interested in kind of taking a peek at what you're doing in real estate. So I just wanted to add another thing onto my plate. So I started making calls to sellers while I had some free time in between my bartending and personal training. So as you can imagine, a year or two was a little hectic. Sure. So fast forward 3 years later, I quit that bartending and personal training, and I traded that into for becoming a real estate investor. I did well over 100 deals over the last 3 years, and now get to coach people around the country to do exactly what I do. I link arms with them with our smart real estate coach, and we teach people how to not only do deals, but to build and scale their real estate business as well. So it's been quite the journey so far in these 3 short years.
That's a lot of story jam packed in those few years, but that's awesome stuff. So when you say that you've done over 100 deals, is that wholesaling? Is that fix and flips, buy and holds? What kind of deals are we talking about?
Yeah, so the deals are on terms. So we buy multiple different ways, and we can kind of keep it super basic here. But lease purchase. So lease purchase means that we're agreeing upon a price with a seller. We'll then take over 100% responsibility of that property for a period of time, and then on or before an end date, turn to a traditional sale.
Awesome.
We have subject to deals, so we're buying the property, and the title is going to transfer to us, but the mortgage will stay, or the financing will still stay in the seller's name.
Gotcha.
Other ones, owner financing, typically a free and clear property. Where we're going to close on the house, make principal-only payments to the seller for a period of time with a balloon date. And then we do have a last option, which is basically like wholesaling lease purchase agreement, which we call an assign out. All of those, and what we teach is we use none of our own money, none of our own credit, and we don't beg investors for money as well. So a great way to leverage yourself. And the reason why we crafted our business this way is because my father-in-law got hit pretty hard in 2008. So now we don't personal sign or over leverage ourselves in any type of way.
Sure.
So that's what out of those 100 deals, it's probably a mixture of them all.
Sure. Absolutely. And we had Chris on, like I said, episode 108, and he did talk about all the, everything that he went through with the crash and everything, and how he's gotten into that kind of strategy of doing real estate on terms and everything that you just mentioned. So, we're going to talk about that a little more into detail. We're going to dig into real estate on terms and kind of your strategies that you use for that. But before we get into that, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about, so you just gave your story here, and over the past 3 years, you kind of developed that story. And right out of college, you mentioned that you didn't know what you wanted to do. You went bartending, then personal trainer. So you kind of had your foot into, and then you took on the real estate world. So you kind of had your foot in 3 different places, even though you have 2 feet. So for the people that are listening right now that are kind of 1 foot in maybe their full-time job and then another foot into real estate investing, like part-time, right? So doing a couple deals here and there, maybe 1 a month or something like that. I'll tell you this. I mean, I'm sure you guys go to events all the time where you see people that, we're partners with Inc. Realty, and we see people that come in and they're doing real estate part-time, and it's a good majority of real estate investors out there that are just doing it part-time and not really have a business. So for you, can you give some advice on people that need to just jump into the real estate game, whether they are wanting to just fix and flip or just wholesale or whatever it is they're wanting to do? What advice can you give somebody just to jump in and get their foot out of this other realm?
Yeah, I think that's important. So most of our associates that I partner with around the country are part-timers. They're looking to eventually climb into becoming a full-time professional real estate investor. Now, I think the word part-time is what throws everyone off, right? It's because they're not actually treating it as a business. It's like, hey, I'm just doing this thing on the side when I have some time. Yeah, exactly. Side hustle. Well, if you want to do that, just go drive for Uber then.
Yeah.
It's a lot less, it's a lot easier. Yeah. So with real estate, it's important that you develop these certain habits in order to become a professional real estate investor, and you actually treat this like a job. So I would say you got to make appointments with yourself that you cannot break. So if you pulled up anyone's calendar right now, you should be able to tell what their goals are for that year, because they're going to allocate certain times in order to reach those goals. So my first advice would be start putting your time blocks as far as how you for your real estate investing on your calendar. Let's not just tiptoe around this. Let's actually put together spots on the calendar that you're completely dedicating to real estate. And then once you have those time slots, now let's figure out what tactics you're going to use in those time slots. Like, what are you doing at that time? Is, Monday at 5 o'clock, is that your time where you're going to prospect for sellers? Is Tuesday at 5 p.m.? Is that what your buyers are allocated there? You're going to speak with buyers. So just to kind of sum this whole thing up is you have to start treating this like a business if you want it to become a business.
Gotcha.
If you just want to do this thing on your side hustle forever, then just keep, throwing money at it and spitting into the wind, because you never
Right.
know what the heck's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So for you, I know that you kind of went over it, but for you, how long did it take from you to transition when you first started doing real estate part-time, but you were still in your full-time job? How long did it take you to transition completely out of your full-time job and go full-time into real estate? About what time frame were you looking at?
It took me about 6 months.
Gotcha.
And the reason why, and it's funny too, so I'll just kind of take the elephant out of the room too. So yeah, I do work with my father-in-law. But it wasn't like I was getting handed the salary when
Right.
I walked in here. So nothing was promised.
Well, you've obviously earned it with doing 100 deals in under 3 years. So, I mean,
I know, but these things come up. So
sure.
yeah, nothing was promised. It was, I still to this day just make a piece of every deal. So we're always in the business of, each and every one of us to get deals done, because that's the way we all get paid. So, and it was a small company at the time, or a brand new company. So we weren't even sure where it was going to go at that point. But yeah, it took me about 6 months. Why? Because I set an end date, and I said, okay, even if I'm making less money in real estate than I am right now with my 2 other jobs, I'm moving out of those other jobs, because I just, what we call like an oh shit moment, right? Like it was like, I've had enough, and I'm setting up a plan right now for the next 6 months in order to hit the ground running when I have free time. Again, block that into the calendar when I had free time in order to make this accomplishable. So I think by the time I finished, we were still less than what I made from my other 2 jobs. But the only way that this was going to happen is if I made the leap. I put both feet in, and thank God I did, because then it allowed me to dedicate my entire time to learning real estate and personal development in order to get myself to where I can, grow my business and grow myself.
Absolutely. So when it comes down to this, and I don't know if these are the right, like, kind of accusations, but
Sure.
for somebody that's like in real estate part-time, they got their full-time job. I want to park on this for just a second. Do you believe, maybe you can answer this specifically from your experience, do you believe that a lot of times for people to take that step, they don't do it because of lack of knowledge, lack of motivation, so maybe laziness, or they're just fearful? Was it any of those for you? Do you think that has a lot to do with people not wanting to go full time? Because the reason why I say that is because, I mean, we go to these, like I said, these Think Realty events, and people come up to our booth and they're like, yeah, I'm a real estate investor. And because I always have them, they come up to the booth and say, tell me about you. And I'm like, no, you tell me about yourself first, because I want to know about them first to see what products I'm going to direct them to, right?
Yeah, right.
And they'll say something to the effect of, yeah, I'm in real estate. And I'm like, yeah, so tell me a little about what you do in it. And like, oh, I've been in it for about 3 years, and I've done 2 deals. I've done 2 wholesale deals. And obviously they're part-time, because you can't make a full-time living doing 2 deals in 3 years. So obviously, I mean, it could be any of these things, but for you, maybe, what was it? Any of these? What was it that caused you? I know that you set your goals, but also for other people, what do you think?
Sure. So I think fear always comes into play, right? If you're, let's say you've been in the professional world for 10 or 20 years, getting outside to become your own boss is obviously a huge fear. Providing for your family is another huge fear. If now you're not getting paid by the man, and you have to develop that, I mean, it's a lack of confidence as well that you need to produce. So I think fear is always involved, but you gotta eventually take the courage to make that leap. It's funny because you look at all like the major billionaires out there or multimillionaires out there. At some point in time, they had to go through these types of hoops as well. So, and they're just as afraid as we are. We're all humans. So we all go through these same emotions. The difference is they decided to make the jump because it was better to make the jump and fail than it was to stay where they were. Yeah. So that's super important there. Lack of knowledge. I don't think you can say the lack of knowledge is really a thing anymore, because you have access to absolutely anything that you need at your fingertips on a computer.
Yep.
What the problem is, I don't think it's even lack of motivation, because I think people become motivated once they find out and once they're in alignment with what they want. It's, of course, if you go to a job that you hate and people are like, "Why this guy's not motivated?" Well, it's because he doesn't want to spend his time there.
Right.
It's like me back in like high school. I didn't have good grades because I didn't like what I was studying.
Yeah.
I mean, now I study, and read, say 2 books to 3 books a month. That's because I enjoy what I'm doing now. So I don't think it's lack of motivation either. I think once somebody sees what they want and where they want to be, then they're certainly gonna make it happen. So I think fear is definitely the number one thing, and the only way that you can eliminate that fear is first by taking action. That always eliminates fear, but also to go find a mentor, someone who's been there, and then that's going to give you some inspiration and some guidelines and some blueprints to get you to that next step.
Yeah, absolutely. Find a mentor. That's really good. I like that a lot. Or a group of people networking, it's just find somebody to hold their hand with and walk you through it.
Yeah, go to the masterminds, link, go to the Good Success Mastermind, link arms with them. Find somebody who's doing what you're doing, is where you want to be in the future, and then, grab their ear and find out how you can make that happen. Somebody has always done it before you have, so you just got to find them.
Sure. And that's kind of what you guys do as well, right? You JV with people that you're kind of training them as well. I mean, the whole smart real estate coach, that's kind of the concept of what you guys do, right?
Yeah, 100%. So what we've noticed in the real estate world is there's a ton of gurus out there selling product, and then nobody's getting deals done. So like you mentioned, like the guy, he's like, I've been studying for 2 years and I've done 2 deals. Okay, right. Well, at some point in time, you need to have accountability and implementation. So what we did was we created our associate level programs, what you were referring to as our JVs. And what we do is we link arms with them, and we work with them in the trenches, help them with talking to sellers, deal structuring, managing the properties throughout that time frame, selling the houses, so absolutely anything you need, and then biz scaling as well, which we have an event in April where we teach people how to scale their business.
That's awesome.
Their real estate business. So what we then did was that associate programs allows us to be in the trenches with you and help you hand in hand to accomplish goals significantly quicker than if you're out on your own.
Right. And I love the structure that you guys have. And you mentioned that you bring them in to teach them how to scale their business, which is that's one of the biggest components you see when the gurus are teaching this stuff. That's one of the biggest components that they're missing, is they're telling you how to wholesale, how to flip, how to buy and hold or turnkey or whatever it is, but how to do the deal, but they don't teach you how to build your business. And that's a big gap in just the education world and period. But you guys are trying to fill that with what you're doing. So definitely admirable with that. That's awesome. Okay. So let's talk about you. So as a young real estate investor, you're 28, 29? 28. Okay. So I'm 25. So pretty close, right? So as a young,
I know she had a young face.
It's going away, but you know how it is, right? Like,
no, wait, have a kid, and it'll slowly start to go away.
Sure. Well, I just got married, so that's coming along pretty soon. So
congrats.
Yeah, I'll report back and let you know. So as a young real estate investor, obviously, I feel a lot of what you're going through as well. What are some obstacles that you've had to overcome? Maybe it's getting over fear of talking to people that have been there, done that kind of thing. Maybe it is confronting sellers or confronting buyers or whatever it is. What are some obstacles that you've had to overcome as a young real estate investor or / entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think with being young in an older person's game, there's obviously that perceived mentality inside yourself. It's really nobody outside of you. It's okay, well, why is this person that has a $1 million house or $500,000 house going to want to sell a property to a 28-year-old or a 25-year-old?
Sure.
So it's that like perceived, because being young, people always think you have lack of experience, right. Even though I may now with 3 years under my belt have way more experience than a 50-year-old, but in my mind, when I first started, was they'll be able to get the deal done quicker because they're older than me. So right. It's as soon as you kind of cross that bridge that you're like, that doesn't even make any sense.
Absolutely.
But I could see that being a problem, because I've spoken to many younger investors, and they always ask me like, hey, well, how the heck do you buy and sell these houses? Like, aren't they going to say like, what is this like 20-something-year-old doing to my house? He's not going to be able to do this.
Right.
But that's just all inside your head. That's just a mindset. I would say it was just going to say lack of experience. I mean, when you first start out and you're younger, it's lack of life experience, really. I'm not even saying real estate experience, it's life experience.
Everything.
So, yeah, exactly. So that may give you, may take some extra time, but as far as being young and getting involved in real estate, I mean, the huge positive is that by the time you're a 50-year-old investor, you've had so many more years of experience than somebody else. So
Absolutely.
If you're young and you're thinking about getting involved, just go ahead and do it now. Get your bumps and bruises while maybe you don't have kids, or you're not married just yet, or, you're just getting out of school, where you don't have this huge overhead, where you're able to, be able to bounce back a hell of a lot quicker than if you have, all this big overhead and you're investing, you have a house, and it just becomes a lot harder to make decisions, which kind of goes back to the people of the fearful, is because people have like this large amount of overhead or debt or something like that. So while you have that kind of sitting behind you in your head, it's harder to make decisions, especially decisions that are gonna, may or may not fail. So being young, just kind of get out of your own head and just go ahead and get it done. Let's take action.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, so obviously relating to you with this, and you mentioned previously when we were talking about jumping into real estate, and that is for everybody across the board. If they're, it doesn't matter if they're 60 years old and they have a full-time job, one foot in real estate, doing it part-time. You talked about getting a mentor and being around the right people. For me, I don't know, maybe you have something to say about this as well. For me as a young person, I actually got into this industry when I was 19 years old, late 19 years old. So perfect timing, right? So it's more than fortunate. God has definitely blessed me with getting into this at this point. But for me, the biggest contributor to the growth that I've had, and in the past 5 years, I've grown more than I ever did in the first 19 years of my life, like probably triple. For me, the biggest thing was the people I hung around, like by far. The fact that, when I got into this real estate industry, the first time I really started hanging around people that wanted more in life, that were basically entrepreneurs. Almost anybody that's a real estate investor is an entrepreneur in some way, shape, or form. Just being around the mindsets that they have. I mean, guys like, and Emily's sitting in the room, our producer right now, and she had this experience too. But at our last mastermind, I got to sit next to Quincy Long for, 2 hours and just pick his brain. And man, just the wisdom. I mean, that guy's forgot hundreds times over what I have learned. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing for me, is just the people that I've been around, the groups that I've been in. Obviously, the mastermind that we have has been huge. Our networks coincide with other networks. Obviously, like one of the, when I was interviewing Chris Prefontaine, I didn't even know that he knew Quincy until I was actually talking about the mastermind and whatnot. And so our circles intertwine with each other and everything. It's just the people that I've been around has just excelled my growth, excelled my knowledge, and almost just learning from their experiences has given me experience in a way. Like I may not have done the things that Quincy Long has done, but just hearing the things that he talks about, and I'm like, man, that makes so much sense. I could apply that without having to go through what he went through. Hey guys, we're going to take a quick break from the podcast and say a huge thank you to our sponsor, Jerry Padilla, a senior loan originator with Prime Lending. And whether you're a first-time homebuyer or you're well-versed in the process, buying or refinancing a home can be an exciting and rewarding experience with Prime Lending. Serving you in every state, they take the time to listen, and they'll work with you to find a home loan that fits your needs. With the mortgage refinancing, lower your interest rate, lower your monthly payments, shorten your term, or get the cash for whatever you need. Prime Lending also has several options for renovation loans so that you can find what works best for you in your home project. Make sure to contact our good friend and Good Success Mastermind member, Jerry Padilla, who is a senior loan originator with Prime Lending and has over 11 years of experience in the mortgage industry. You can learn more about Prime Lending and what they have to offer by contacting Jerry Padilla at goodsuccess.com/prime lending. So make sure you take advantage of that to learn more about them. Now, without further ado, let's get back to the show.
Oh, I think it's huge. I mean, it's becoming cliche now, but I mean, you are the 5 people that you hang around with the most, right? So your network and your surroundings are huge. I mean, you always, if you realize every group that you hang out with, or you end up kind of mirror matching those people. So if you want to become a successful real estate entrepreneur or a successful entrepreneur, you have to hang out with them. You have to find out, because you start doing what they do as far as their habits. If all your friends sit around and drink beers and watch football
that's what
all
you're
day
gonna
long
do
on Sundays, that's what you're going to do, because that's what you do when you hang out with that group.
Right.
If you got people that are constantly studying and pushing the limit, and are constantly looking to grow their business, then you're going to start thinking like that, and you're going to start attributing that to your life. So you start taking on those habits. So even if you're at a point in your life where you're not even sure what you want to do or where you want to go, just start surrounding yourself with people that are more successful than you. And again, success is your own definition. Everybody has their own, but start finding people that are where you want to be, and just start hanging out with them, and then you'll start developing some great habits. So yeah, 100%. And I know I'm a mentor and a coach, but I constantly am surrounding myself with other mentors and coaches, because I always think I have to constantly be growing more significantly than my associates or the people I teach, because I need to always be able to supply them with new knowledge and new information. So I'm constantly grinding it out and always looking for people to connect with that are above and beyond where I'm at.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. And one thing that our president, Tom Olson, mentions is that when you're hanging around people and you're trying to grow yourself, there's three people that you need to hang around. One is obviously the people that are way light years ahead of you, the people that are ahead of you, the people that you want to emulate and be like, the things that you want to learn from those people. Those are obviously, that's group one that you want to hang out with the most. The next group is the people that are at the same level as you, because then you're at the same level. They may, be able to translate things that you should be doing, shouldn't be doing, and vice versa. You could be bringing value to them as well. So it's kind of at that level. And I don't think that there's a point where, people that are ahead of you, you can't bring value to them. I don't believe that for 1 second. There's always some way that you can bring value to them, even if it's just sitting at a table with Quincy Long for 2 hours and just listening to what he has to say. He's a giver himself, and an actual giver is somebody that gives without expectations. And I know Quincy's an actual giver. And so just the joy that he gets with sharing his knowledge is incredible. And that's the value I could bring. But then the third group is the people that are below you, the people that are not yet at the level that you're at, and you can mentor those people, which sounds like you're doing all three of those. So that's absolutely fantastic. So people are out there. I think that's something that you need to definitely consider, because, I've seen people that are at the next level, and then, somebody at a level lower than them tries to come talk to them or tries to pick their brain or whatever. And they're just like, you're not where I'm at yet. So let's just hang on until you get here, that kind of thing. And I don't believe in that at all. So
yeah, no, I'm totally with you. It's always, everybody has different skills and what they're naturally good at, as well as Gay Hendricks and The Big Leap talks about, your level of genius. So wherever you're really, exponential at. So yeah, I hang out with mentors that are way ahead of me, but I have some sort of skill set or some knowledge that can also help them. So never feel like, if you're looking for a mentor, definitely just go ahead and approach them, because you definitely can bring some value to their life. And if they are an actual mentor and an actual coach, then they're going to give you knowledge. They're going to want to mentor you. Even if it's going to cost you money, which it probably will, right. They're going to want to give. I mean, because that's what a natural mentor does. Somebody like where you're just saying that kind of shuns you off, they're probably not going to be a good coach to learn from anyways.
Yeah, it's not somebody I want to hang around anyway. I don't want to hang around somebody that's not a true giver, and it may be selfish on my part, but this is not somebody you want to hang around at all.
Sure, yeah.
Absolutely. So let's talk about your personal growth. So actually, I'm swapping a couple of questions that maybe you might have on the sheet here. So let's talk about your personal growth. And you talked about you read about 2 to 3 books a month, which is awesome. We are very, very big on books. I mean, almost anybody that listens to this podcast knows that. Tom has a goal to read 50 books a year, and that's every year. He's an Audible guy. He doesn't hardly ever read a physical book. There's been 1 or 2 maybe I think that he's read physically, but he reads the audio or listens to audiobooks, so he's able to get them a little quicker. I told him that he cheats, but it's beside the point.
Yeah, I'd say he's cheating.
So he would think otherwise, because he's really good at retaining the information. That's the important thing. But yep. For you, so let's maybe it's not books, maybe it's some kind of a course that you've taken, or it's some other source of growth. What's been the biggest contributor to your growth? Maybe if it is books, then what specific books, and what are some things that you've learned out of those?
Sure. So I like to do a mix. My goal is always to read 1 book a month and to retain it, like you said, right. And then listen to 1 Audible a month. So that brings you to about 24 books a year. Yeah. And then I tend to do about a program or somebody's course, like every, let's say once a quarter, because those usually take up way more time. So depending upon like each and every year, I do have certain goals. Like if it's getting better at speaking, getting better at writing copy, some of those higher level things that can fit into anybody's
specific
business.
skills.
Yeah, specific skills, exactly, or persuasion, scripts, things like that. So those would be things that I would attribute to, but it's also going to events. Events are huge, or being a part of masterminds. I have like mastermind partners that I speak with day in and day out. I have a good friend of mine, DeRay Olagier. He's part of Before the Millions. He has a Before the Millions podcast. He's another young entrepreneur in real estate. He's 28 as well. So we speak weekly on Mondays to go over like our aha moments, actions that we need to take or things that we need to talk about to get things done. So definitely attribute to a little bit of everything: masterminds, going to events, seeking out, better people to hang out with. And then also reading books and audibles. It's been a basic of everything. I just try to cram everything into in a short amount of time as possible. Also, there's another cool thing called like Mentor Box. I don't know if you've seen that, mentorbox.com. So that's where they take the author of books and they come in and they do like 5 20-minute videos on like all the key points of the book. So you can actually just watch some videos on that, which is really cool. So that allows me to sneak in like another book, maybe a month, because I can usually watch, 5 videos and at the end of my day. So that it's just, I think what it comes down is the dedication to learn and to put in that effort, because, you could be doing something else. You could always be doing something else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right now I'm balancing, multiple businesses. I'm married, I have a 1-year-old son, and then I'm also looking to, help out all these associates and grow myself. So it's always a balancing act, and it's really just being dedicated to sneak in some of these personal developments when you have that free time. Like if it's like 15 minutes here or 20 minutes there, or like I like to crush audibles when I'm at the gym. That's the easiest way. I'm working out. I can listen to an audible. So I can sneak an extra book in. So I would definitely attribute all of that studying towards, how I was been able to grow over the last 3 years.
Absolutely. So what would be, let's say, maybe not your favorite book, but maybe one of your top 3 books or something like that?
Sure. So I just kind of rattle off some of the recent ones. Was it Performance Habits by Brendan Bouchard?
Performance Habits, yeah.
That's a great one right now. I'm listening to The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I know it's an oldie, an older one. Unf Yourself by Gary Bishop. It's huge. I don't know if you guys swear on this podcast. So
I'd have to mark it explicit, but I think people know what you're saying.
Yeah, so that's another great book. I tend to listen to like personal development books on audio, and I tend to read the books I'm going to have to refer back to, like anything that's very specific to, like, say, real estate or one of these skills.
Yeah.
Another great one is 10X. The 10X rule is, I mean, if Grant Cardone doesn't get you fired up, then I don't know who does. So that's another great book. Another one on audio. He's great to listen to too. So he's a lot of fun.
For sure.
And then I would recommend Phil Knight's new book, just for business in general. Shoe Dog.
Yeah.
And
I saw that the other day, and I didn't know if it was just about how he started Nike or what the whole situation was.
It's awesome, because it's like almost like it's journaled. It's documented like year by year.
Okay.
Really, really cool book. Talk about going through some ups and downs in business.
Sure.
Awesome, just entrepreneur book in general.
Okay. I'll have to check that out. I saw that on the shelf the other day at a bookstore, and I was like, man, that sounds interesting. I like Nike, but I don't know.
I listened to it on Audible, and I couldn't stop listening to it.
Awesome.
Like, they have an actor do it as well, so it's like really cool and easy to listen to. But it's if I didn't know it was Phil Knight, like, I would think it was, it wasn't real.
Right.
That's how cool it is.
And I agree with you too with audio book versus physical books is, if it's primarily self-help or something that's like that in that genre, I'll listen to audiobook because it's easy to listen to. But I'm in marketing as well and content creation, and I'm a creative, and that kind of thing. And if I have to take notes at all, I'll crack open the physical book. Like I can't listen to the audiobook and then retain every bit of inspiration. So totally on the same page with you there. So let's go into real estate. So let's talk about this for a little bit. We got a couple more questions and we're going to have to wrap this up, but this has been an awesome interview so far. I'm ecstatic about it, but we got to talk about real estate at some point on this podcast. So for you, you know, the Smart Real Estate Coach and your guys' brands, and you even talked a little bit about what you guys do deal-wise at the beginning of the show. Let's talk about real estate on terms. Now, I had Chris kind of go into it a little bit and kind of talk about his book as well. But for you, from your point of view, what does it mean to buy and sell on terms? What are some strategies that you guys take advantage of when it comes to that?
Yeah, so buying and selling on terms, I always just think of like buying and selling with a contract. So your contract has terms in it. Terms that we tend to work with are, say, like purchase price, their length of time. Sometimes it's what you're getting for principal pay down, if there's a balloon payment involved. So terms meaning it's just you and the seller are trying to figure out exactly what the seller wants to get out of the deal and what you want to get out of the deal, and then crafting up terms in order to make it happen. So with some of those strategies or tactics, it's, you know, lease purchase. The lease purchase tends to work great because I went in a little bit more detail at the beginning, but again, just to recap, it's we're agreeing upon a price, me and the seller. We're going to take over 100% responsibility of the property. Typically, the property has a mortgage on it. So we'll take over the mortgage, we'll take over the maintenance, the taxes, the insurance, any and all future repairs, any and all responsibilities. And then the seller and I will agree upon an end date, and then on or before that end date, we'll pay him off. So with that being in place, the title is going to stay in the seller's name. So the easiest way to think about this is we're tying up really like a net lease with an option to purchase before a specific time. We actually do it a little differently than most other people. We actually are able to capture the principal pay down on this, which most people don't. It's a pretty cool tactic because what we're doing is at the beginning of the deal, we're going to lock in the seller's equity. So say that it's a $300,000 house, they owe $250 on it. We're going to lock in that $50,000 to be cashed out on or before, let's say, 36 months. So any and all of the payments that we're making, the monthly payments that are, you know, the mortgage, there's going to be principal pay down coming off of that. So anything above and beyond that $50,000 is our profit.
Gotcha. Are these the type of deals that you guys work with? I know that you guys have JVs with across the country. Does this work in almost any market, or is it just your guys' Rhode Island market that you really nailed down with this?
No, so it works in any market. Lease purchase does not work in, or we're not able to do a sandwich lease where we are in the middle. How I just described in Texas. That's the only market that I know you can't do it. But so if you're in Texas and you're listening to this, you're like, oh, well, why the heck do I want to listen to them anymore? Well, the point is we have three other fantastic strategies that I prefer anyways. Buying the property subject to the existing loan. That's huge. I would always rather take title if I can. There's obvious benefits to taking title and owning the property. You have more control. You're getting depreciation. So that's important. So if you're in Texas, buying subject to the existing loan, or owner financing, having the seller, or people call it seller financing, having the seller finance the deal, meaning you're going to close on the property. You're then going to take title. The seller will be secured by a first position. You're then going to be making monthly payments to the seller with a balloon date that comes up in the future. We love owner financing because all of our deals, we actually craft up principal-only payments. So it's a great way to leverage ourselves in that property. And usually if you can get a principal-only payments, at least on a 36-plus month deal, I mean, you're looking usually at six figures. And I always have to say, I mean, your results may vary, but but what we've seen is we can usually push it to about a six-figure payday just because of the principal payments alone that are coming off of it. Even if they're $1,000 principal payments every month on a 36-month, it's already $36,000 off the back end that's profit for you.
That's interesting. I like that you guys do that. And I know Chris kind of explained it, like I said, on episode 108, but it was interesting to hear it from your perspective as well. And it obviously ties in together and makes sense with each other. But yeah, it's awesome stuff. So if you guys, I mean, this is episode, I believe, like 150 something. So that was a long time ago, and we've built an audience. So, some of these people may not have even heard that podcast. So it's good to reinstate that. So.
Yeah, the great thing, anyways, I mean, me and Chris teach the exact same thing, but have completely different styles.
Right.
Completely different backgrounds, completely different styles. So sometimes when I speak to someone, they relate better to me. Sometimes when Chris speaks to someone, they relate better to him. So it's really cool. Or, the rest of our team as well.
So when you guys are going through your mentoring process, you guys teach all of this stuff that you just talked about. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's 100% correct.
Right. And then...
We have our buy and sell entity that we use as like our guinea pigs. Like we buy property in southern New England, and then we just teach what we're doing exactly to the people. So we're in the trenches. As things change, we change, and that allows us to then keep our associates up to date while the markets are changing. So we're not just like teaching this from 10 years ago.
Right. And I was gonna say that like there's plenty of mentors or gurus out there that teach real estate, but they're not doing it. Like you're a practitioner as along with, doing the coaching. So you're keeping up with the times as well and the market trends and all that kind of stuff. And there's plenty of gurus out there that, flipped 4 houses and made, a couple $100,000 10 years ago. And they're still teaching about how they did that 10 years ago. And it's like, how's that relevant anymore? But it's appealing because they made a couple $100,000 on 4 flips. So it's like, it sounds intriguing.
I'm 100% with you.
Yeah.
That's what happens. That's why it's important that you vet out anyone that you're going to follow. It's like when you vote for the president, you don't just vote for the president. You figure out what he stands for and every single policy he's going to do. Same with your mentor and guru. I do the exact same thing.
Absolutely. All right. Well, awesome stuff. Appreciate you, hounding down on that. So let's talk about one of the topics that you had mentioned to me when we were conversing, getting you on the show was leveraging social media for your real estate business. So let's talk about that. I'm a big advocate of social media. I love social media when it comes to marketing, and me personally, I've even mentioned it a couple of times on the show here with some other people that we've had on the show. And I think that for social media, networking is probably one of the biggest things for me, is that I connected with Chris Perfontaine through Facebook. So that's how I got connected with him. And I just use social media as a networking platform. And, most people use it to post their opinions, but I use it for connecting with people and getting value out of it. So for you, what are some things that you have leveraged with social media to grow your real estate business?
Yeah, I think it's important. I'll just kind of take you a step back. I got a mentor of mine. His name's Steve Wassner. He runs the Onward Nation podcast. He's interviewed over 1,000 entrepreneurs. So he interviewed Gary Vaynerchuk like 6 years ago.
That's awesome.
And Gary Vaynerchuk said to him, he said, people need to start thinking about their business as a media company.
Yep.
So you need to start thinking about your business as a media company. So the way the way we use social media is to generate media. It's not as important to just post about like, hey, I got this awesome property. This is how much it costs. That is marketing your property, and you should do that. But you should be taking advantage of your platform. You should be answering questions on there. You should be bringing knowledge to the people that are going to be your prospects. So right now, every single week, my brother-in-law and myself, we post at least one video to our buying and selling entity that is a Q&A. So we spoke with a seller recently, and this is what they asked us, and this is how I think you could benefit from this knowledge. Same with the buyer side, exact same thing, or anything else that pops up in the business. Or because you're in real estate, looks like interest rates are going to climb over 5% now. What does that mean to your business? What does that mean to your buyer? What does that mean to your seller? So you should start providing content that can help out your prospects and could potentially be, the people you work with in the future.
Absolutely. And I think there's a level of social media that a lot of people miss, and you even mentioned it, is the education part of it. So even with marketing in general, just taking social media out of it or leaving it in, but with every other channel that you have in marketing, you should always be educating your market. And we had Eddie Wilson on a while ago, and he talked about this a little bit. But when it comes down to it, education is one of the biggest tools or biggest advantage points that a company or a brand that can have in order to latch somebody onto their brand. Because if you educate them on, maybe you're going after their pain points or why they need it or whatever it is. And even like you said, building your buyers list or network, you send videos out to your buy and sell company. Like, why do you do that? It's to stay in front of people, but it's also to educate them on why they should come after you guys for doing business with you.
Yeah, it gives you credibility first and foremost. Like, no matter what, the craziest thing in the world is like if you step on stage, you get in front of a camera, all of a sudden you know what you're doing. So not to say that people don't or we don't, but it gives you a position where you can bring yourself some credibility. And then, yes, leveraging the fact that you have knowledge that can certainly help people out, whether it's their pain points or not. But, and then eventually people will begin to trust. That's the most important thing is if people constantly see your face and they're going to trust you. So then when they call you on the phone, you're not just another real estate investor on the phone.
Right.
You're Josh, who's been telling me about real estate and how he can help me for the last, 10 weeks.
Yeah. And it's the whole concept. You mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk. It's the whole concept I think that social media goes extremely well with is the jab, 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 right hook, because you're jabbing and just kind of poking yourself out there and letting people know that you're still there. We got this podcast coming out and then, making an announcement that Zach's going to be on the show. All right, the show's already out. So make sure you guys go take advantage of that. And then they lock in and then you take the right hook and it's the give mentality and you just keep giving and then you can not take advantage of it, but go after them at that point. Once you said credibility and also value with people. And I think social media is definitely, the social media platforms is a really excellent place, probably the best place to do that. And it's by far the cheapest avenue to acquire leads, to acquire buyers or prospective sellers or whatever it is. So couldn't agree more. So awesome stuff. Well, if we don't have anything else to add, I'm going to wrap this up. We got 2 more questions that we're going to wrap up the video or the podcast with and video with. So let's go ahead and talk about this. So we ask every single interviewee that we get on the show here these same 2 questions. Always interested to hear what we have to say. So good success to us. I mean, you just introduced to us. So this is going to be a pure thought that comes from you. Most people that we get on the show here, they've known us for a while or whatever, or they're in our mastermind, so they know what we're all about. But when you hear the term good success, for us, it's all about the quality of the success. Like, what are you doing with it? It's the whys, the whats. We do teach the hows in some way, shape, or form. On the podcast, you talked about, real estate on terms. But to us, it's bigger than that. So for you, when you hear the term good success, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? What do you think about?
Yeah, so I think good success is like success without sacrifice, meaning sacrificing either who you are or what you stand for. So being able to create the success that you truly want, but also being, whole within yourself and not, worrying about it. Because, there's plenty of people out there that will, trade who they are just to be successful. So I think that's super important, especially with today's society with social media and all that. It's important that you stay true to yourself. So good success would be success while still being true to yourself.
Love it. That's awesome. And we've actually not had that answer before. And there's so many.
Here.
Yeah, exactly. But there's so many different answers for you skimmed over it, but people have different definitions of success. And that's so true. And I love that. That's awesome. Okay. So you got to leave the audience with one thing. So whether it's a piece of advice, it's a quote, a thought, maybe it's a book that you've read that you want to leave the audience with, one thing that you got to leave them with, what would that be?
Sure. I would always just say, I think I alluded to this multiple times. It's you got to get to a certain point where you're just going to take action. That's going to eliminate a lot of fear, and it's also going to create a heck of a lot of excitement. So if you've been sitting on the fence and you've had one foot in, we've covered that. You just got to make a commitment at some point in your life to create a better world. I mean, there's a reason why you're doing real estate on the side, and it's because whatever you're doing on your day job is not fulfilling you. So if you want full fulfillment and happiness, then you got to take action and go after what you want. And who cares what anyone else thinks?
Yeah, that's some conviction right there. I love it. So motivation. 2019 is on its way here. It's actually already here, but for those New Year's resolutioners, maybe you did make the jump and just stay consistent with it, but take action. That's the most important thing. That's obviously
huge. So I love it. Awesome. Zach, we appreciate you being on the show today, man. It was awesome. I love this. I love having you on here. Again, didn't know what to expect. Chris spoke very highly of you. And then I believe it was his assistant that looped us in an email to get you on the show here. But it was great having you on the show. Look forward to having you back soon. If somebody wanted to contact you, I mentioned smartrealestatecoach.com is your guys' website, but somebody wanted to personally get in contact with you. I know that you guys talk about mentorship and all that. What's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so I got a couple things for you. Like you said, when you had Chris on the podcast a while ago, you guys talked about his book. So if you want our Amazon best-selling book, Real Estate on Your Terms, you can visit the website free, SREC, book.com. So FREESREC, book, BOOK.com. That's a free book. We're not going to ask for your credit card. You're not going to have to pay for shipping, nothing. You're going to get it. It's going to save you a heck of a lot of time and money instead of going to Amazon. So definitely go there, get your free book. It'll definitely help you get to know us as a team as well. If you're looking to dive into what we do, I would definitely take a look at our webinar. We give away an hour's worth of free content, and you can get that at smartrealestatecoach.com/webinar. That will definitely catapult you moving forward. And if you have any questions, just email support@smartrealestatecoach.com and make sure the right teammate will get in touch with you.
Awesome. And then one thing before I let you go, I even mentioned it when I was introducing you briefly. You're co-authoring a new book that's coming out in 2019, The New Rules of Real Estate Investing. Are you able to give us any kind of sneak peek on that, or is that something that has to stay confidential?
I'll give you a quick sneak peek. It's about all the experts in real estate, including our team, and kind of how you can evolve, how we're evolving real estate and helping people become more profitable in 2019 and beyond.
Awesome. Do we have a release date for that?
I don't have an exact date, but and my team may kill me, but I think it's in April.
Okay. Your team won't hear about this. Okay. We're going to cut them off at this point. Only you and I can hear all this going on right now, but we appreciate you letting us know about that. And if they go to the website, they could stay up to date and see that as it unrolls. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, I would definitely go to our website. Like you mentioned before, we give away so much free content. Go to our YouTube channel, Smart Real Estate Coach, subscribe there. You'll get 3 videos a week, at least from us there. We always keep in touch with everyone on our Smart Real Estate Coach Facebook page. So we'll definitely keep you in the loop there. And then, of course, if you want to subscribe to our list, which will be the first people that will receive our book, right, go ahead and do that as well.
Awesome stuff. Well, thank you for sharing that, Zach, and we appreciate you being on the show again, and we look forward to having you back soon.
Thanks again. I very much appreciate it.
Awesome. That is going to do for today's episode. We appreciate you jumping on and listening to this podcast, this episode of the Good Success Podcast. If you guys haven't already, make sure you have subscribed to our podcast. We're on all the podcast platforms. Just go search our name and you'll find us there. Subscribe. And then also on Apple Podcasts, leave a review for us. 5 stars would be much appreciated. We would love to hear your guys' feedback on these shows, so make sure you go ahead and do that on Apple Podcasts. The Good Success Mastermind coming up February 4 through 8 in Dallas, Texas. It's not too far away. We got a few more dates coming out too. Our next one is going to be May, I believe, 14 through 18, if I'm not mistaken. That'll be in Miami, Florida, but you guys can go to goodsuccess.com/mastermind to learn more about that, see all of our upcoming dates, and see if there's one that works best for you. If you guys do go there, make sure you fill out the application, submit that application, and get on a phone with either myself or Tom Olson, president of Good Success, and we'll chat with you. We do vet everybody that has been in our mastermind by our core values, which is community stewardship, growth, and charity, and that's how we vet you. We also vet, yes, your business, but the type of person you are. We've built an incredible culture of people like Quincy Long in our group, and just complete givers and people that encompass all 4 of those core values. So again, goodsuccess.com/mastermind is where you can learn more about that. That's going to do it for today's episode. We appreciate you jumping on. Remember to be a conduit, not a bucket, and work to have to give. Catch you guys on the next one.